Hello and welcome to the Comicspiracy, episode 621 for the week of Monday, August 26, 2024. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
Lane.
Toby.
What? Two people at once?
Always.
Toby and Lane. And some very special guests. Why don't you guys introduce yourself?
Mervyn McKoy and
Nikki McKoy.
yeah.
Hello.
Yay.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are on the East Coast. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it is way too late, so we're not going to keep you guys all night.
Wait,
we
they're on the
promise.
East Coast? Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
They are. Yeah.
We appreciate you guys
sweet.
having us.
Three-hour podcast tonight. Ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
No. No, trust me. I'm too tired, and we're in California, so I don't even. Yeah, thank you guys for being on. We'll get to you guys in just 1 second. Toby, you guys, both you and Kevin and Lane had a very convention-filled last few weeks. Even more so, well, not more so than Comic-Con. Not anything's more so than Comic-Con, but multiple conventions are happening around here in the Bay Area that you guys went to. Brock, you as well.
Yeah.
Went to GalaxyCon last weekend. And Mervyn, you guys were there. I want to hear all about it, Toby. But you have like a whole story here. So when you get to it.
It's one of my favorite things about this podcast when these kind of things happen, or the fun con stories, as you will say. So I did the con, normal. I did the Friday night, the Saturday night, the Sunday.
This would be GalaxyCon.
Yeah, GalaxyCon.
GalaxyCon.
Yeah.
To introduce it to everyone else, GalaxyCon in San Jose, a not really a comic convention, right? I mean, this is like a celebrity con, right? I mean, it is a comic convention,
everything
but it's
convention.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of these like kind of celebrity nerd cons that are out there now, where there are comic stuff, but the majority of it is signings and autographs and stuff. So GalaxyCon, it's big on the East Coast, been around for a while, but this is the first one in San Jose, and I know you guys were all pretty excited to go. I wanted to go, but I was just like, I'm telling you, I'm still getting over Comic-Con. I'm just a fucking wreck.
Like, old man.
That
was a month ago. That was a month ago.
It kills me for weeks and weeks.
It does. He's not the same.
It's the worst.
6 months to recover.
Yeah.
It does. Like 2 years to recover. That's why I go to every other one. But you guys were doing that. Plus, Cape and Cowl, which was this past weekend, so you guys double conned. But yeah, so GalaxyCon, which was not this past
16th, 17th,
weekend,
and 18th.
So so that's where.
Well, I mean, it was a long time coming. Like, we had Big Wow, we had SuperCon, we had SillyCon come and go. So it was really cool to get, a con back in San Jose at the San Jose Convention Center, which.
Yeah, they just haven't lasted.
Yeah.
They go a couple of years and then they just die off. And
yeah, there's some stories behind it, but I was really excited to get this con and to come to San Jose because it's been a while. It's funny, me and Lane were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, going, hey, wouldn't it be nice if there, or even a couple months ago that there's a con back at the San Jose Convention Center where it's something local where I could drive into, where it's more relaxed, where no hotel costs, at least for us local people. To be back in existence, and GalaxyCon kind of filled that void, and it was a good start. I really like what they're doing. They got some guests that we don't usually see. I haven't seen Priest in a long time. I haven't seen Fabian in a long time. I think Jerome Opinion hasn't done many cons either. So it was just like a cool list of people that we don't usually see on this side that got me really excited for this con. So one of my coworkers came with me, and we kind of did the Drunken Mario Kart on Friday night. We did a couple other things that some of the night activities. They had a really nice burlesque show that was pretty amazing. And then Saturday, I wanted to get my book signed by Priest and Fabian Nisita, so I spent most of my days actually in my garage digging out books because I knew I had them.
Let's back up very quickly. Christopher Priest, writer of Black Panther and like the Kermit Vampirella books, and he's done a lot. Editor of Marvel for decades. That'd be Fabian Nicieza, writer of X-Force and X-Men, and of course the New Warriors, my personal favorite. and tons and tons and tons of other stuff. The reason I didn't actually go was because Mark Bagley, artist of New Warriors, didn't go. I wanted to go when they were both going to be there. I mean, perfect chance to get stuff signed, but he left, and he wasn't there, so I was like,
You'll enjoy, Ryan, that I got Fabian to sign my New Warriors omnibus, and he drew me a little speedball in there.
I saw.
So he must be mistaking me for you. When he signs yours and puts a Night Thrash in there, we may just have to trade books.
We could trade.
Yeah.
We can trade. Yeah.
But no, that
you did actually go for comic stuff.
Most and this one, yeah, because local cons for me are mostly about getting big book signed. So I really want to get Jerome Opinia to sign the 70 Eternity big book. I got Fabian to sign the New Warriors Omni, and then I really want him to sign the Gambit #1, and I really wanted Priest to sign the Black Panther #1 because I really love that book actually. So I was excited to see those guys mostly the most, and for that it was a great con. I mean, I got to talk to Priest quite a bit. I got to chat to Fabian a bit. And then the more of the night activities. I watched the Rocky Horror picture show. Or the performance they had. I be honest, I apologize to the performance because I pulled a Toby where I may have not been
fall asleep in the middle of it, or
I may have not been awake for all of it. But
how do you fall asleep during Rocky Horror?
There was a lot of yelling. So I got comfortable, I guess.
So for all the Toby activities that they did here, right? I just want to go back. Drunken Mario Kart was people playing Mario Kart, but getting progressively drunker as the game went on.
I have to say, so the rules are you got to show up with a full drink. Now, you have to finish the drink before you finish the race. You cannot drive and drink, basically. So you have to pull over and drink your drink, or drink it in the beginning or at the end before you finish the finish line. That's the rules. So they pick 4 people out of the crowd. You go up on stage and race, basically. Now, the trick is you down the drink right in the beginning because then you don't have to worry about it, right? So you basically slog the whole thing and then you just go. Now, if you stay there and keep doing it, the drunker you get. But then it's also you have to buy the drinks at the bar there, so it adds up fast. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, but I opted not to do it the second night. Also, there's a couple of guys that did it correctly. There's a guy that was next to me that was like, "Hey man, you're leaving the line?" I'm like, "There's no line. They just pick out of the crowd." He goes, "Oh, okay." So I went to get my drink, came back. I went back to where I was standing. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "There's a line." I'm like, "Dude, I told you earlier there's no line." He goes, "What?" And I was like, "Dude, they just pick out of the crowd." He goes, "Oh, I have to tell the guy behind me." So he tells the guy behind him, "There is no line." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I know. We've been telling you there's no line." So that guy came completely sloshed. Yeah, he had this water bottle that's full of vodka. That was just complete. Yeah. So he did it correctly because he went up on stage. He did finish the race first, but he forgot to finish his drink. So,
all right.
Yeah. But no.
And you went to a Rocky Horror Picture Show. You went to an after-hours Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's not the movie though. It was like a stage play.
No, they had the movie. They played the movie.
Oh, they did.
And they had a stage play at the same time.
Yeah, that's Rocky. Yeah, people just get up and do stupid shit during the show.
No. They were actual performers, not people
acting out the movie while it was being played. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's normal, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Well, did that, and again, like I said, I pulled on Toby on that one, and then Sunday I saw Kevin briefly. I never saw Lane and this con ever at all, not once. I saw.
Yeah, we'll get their stories a little bit later.
I saw Kevin briefly on Sunday. And then I thought con over. It was a great con. I got my book signed that I wanted. I went to the Shatner thing, both of the Shatner panels. I went to the Q&A and I did the movie.
William Shatner, James Tiberius Kirk from Star Trek. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
The Shatner.
Thank you.
The Shatner.
Thank you.
He did
he did panels, correct, where he would talk and answer questions, and he Shatner said doesn't give 2 shits about anyone.
Yeah,
and
it was
amazing.
It was amazing. And then
picture.
Yeah, and then he did
getting everyone on the same page.
And then he did a movie commentary of his own movie
of Star Trek V.
Yeah.
from what I understand.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
And this is when I knew I was in for something good, because the movie opens with James Tiberius Kirk climbing.
Star Trek V, not great, but not as bad as people make it out to be. I have there's some fun parts in Star Trek V. Yeah. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna go out there on a limb.
Well, that's the whales one, right?
No, that's 4. No, Star Trek V is the one
God
with
aliens.
With God and Spock's brother, and what does God need with the spaceship? No, Star Trek V. I legitimately love the opening of that when they're climbing the Half Dome, right? When they're climbing Half Dome, it's Half Dome, right?
That's
what they're climbing, right?
Remedy?
Yeah, they're climbing. They're here. They're I do actually like the opening of that of Star Trek.
I knew I was in for something good because it opened up with Kirk climbing, and then Shatner goes, "This is an amazing shot of my ass." So I knew at that point, I was like, "This is gonna be gold. I'm in for it." Also, there were times in the movie where he goes like, "This is where we ran out of money. This is not at all what we wanted to do." It was quite glorious. I really enjoyed that. That was cool.
Yeah, Star Trek V is a special movie.
Yeah. Anyways, he mentioned that there was a lot of sacrifices in that movie. He did a lot of things he didn't want to do, and there's a lot of things he got forced to do. It was a really interesting commentary to sit through. So after that, I thought the con was over because the show floor was done. Everybody is heading home. I said my goodbyes to the people I knew, and I head home. And then on Monday morning, I go to work like a normal Joe, like back to reality. I get this funny text from Marshall, and it goes something like this.
Marshall would be our employee Marshall at the store that is not on the podcast and doesn't do any of the podcast stuff.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. So Marshall
talks to so many podcast people.
He does.
I'm actually surprised Marshall has your cell phone number. I have no idea that Marshall had your cell number.
Me and Marshall are bros, man. Like we get along great, dude. Like, yeah. Anyways, so he texts me, right? And
he probably just got Toby's number from the hub.
No. We exchanged numbers, man. Me and Marshall get along just fine, man. Me and Marshall get along.
No, I know. I'm just trying to do the rational thing for Ryan's brain to figure out.
Ryan could go into the corner and think about it. It's fine. No, so Marshall sends me this text, and it goes something like this. He goes, "Hey, man, there's a guy named Mervyn here, and he's dropping books off of you, and he said he was hoping to meet you at the con, but, I guess it didn't work out." And I was like, who the hell is Mervyn? Like, I was like, I talked to a lot of people. I had a few drinks. I'm pretty sure I remember who I talked to. And he goes, "Yeah, he messaged you, but you never replied." I'm like, that doesn't sound like me either. I was like, unless he's a complete jackass, I would have responded to him. So at that point, I checked my Instagram and I realized there was this other folder of messages. And there it was. It was like, "My name is Mervyn. I'm a long-time listener to the podcast. I'm going to be at the show at this booth. If you have time, swing by." And I felt really terrible that I completely missed this message, right? So I was like, "Marshall, is he still there?" No, he just left. And so I was like, "Well, let me hit this guy up." So I was like, "Yo, I'm sorry, I missed this message. I either was sleepwalk Instagramming and missed your message, or I just didn't know about this other folder. And if you're still in town, I'll grab a drink after I'm done with my day job." And he responded, "Go, yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna meet a complete stranger, but it's all good." So after work, I called him up, and he was at Campbell at the time. I was like, "Dude, I can come to Campbell. I can come downtown. What do we do? It's all good." So we decided to meet at the Marriott at the hotel. And it was funny. It was one of those things. And Mervyn, I hope you don't mind that I say this. Like, we talked for like a second. I'm like, I like this motherfucker. I'm gonna get along with this guy. I'm gonna get along with this guy. I'm like, I like him right off the bat. I'm like, something about this guy I like, And then about 5 or 10 minutes as we were walking, he mentions that he was very mad at one of the podcasts that we did. And I have to say,
what did I do this time? What did I do this time?
There was a movie called Black Panther that came out.
Okay.
Where I had to fight all you motherfuckers on how awesome Killmonger is.
Hey, time out. Don't you say all you MFers, because there's somebody else here who thinks that's a great MCU villain.
Well, I remember fighting a bunch of people.
Okay,
I don't remember a whole lot of people on my side.
Okay, you didn't fight me.
Okay, good. Well, you're not a motherfucker.
I was indifferent.
You're just a fucker.
I'll take that.
All right, cool. Anyways, so he goes, I was really mad because I was on your side, and I'm a Killmonger guy too. I'm like, motherfucker, you're a friend of mine now because you're gonna come on the podcast and we're gonna defend Killmonger.
Do our Black Panther commentary.
Yeah.
So to be fair,
did Black Panther come out?
To be fair, I don't want to burn anything to the ground right now. I enjoy being on the show. It's just listening to this, but no, that was a very.
That's just how Toby is. He goes from 0 to burn it to the ground in 30 seconds. So
yeah, I also didn't tell Ryan about this at all. I didn't mention any of the Killmongering at all.
If it's to fight me, he'll do it instantly. So yeah.
Well, anyways, so I met Mervyn. It was awesome hanging out with you. We had dinner with a bunch of other people from the con, including the owner of the con, which we got to exchange some stories, and that was one of my coolest post-con stories I ever got to do, or memories. Like it was just super cool. It was like, yeah, me and Merv and Nikki got to exchange some stories, and it's like finding long lost friends. And then Mervyn tells me that he's been listening since the beginning. So he listened to all the podcasts, the Geek Box, the pre Geek Box, whatever it's called. You actually know better than I do, Merv.
Well, when he was on like GFW radio and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the earliest stuff that Ryan did. Yeah, cool.
So nice. He knows me as Rhodey Brock.
In the beginning. Yeah. Nice.
So yeah,
cool.
Welcome to the pod.
Well, thank you. It's funny. This is the 1% of times that a meeting like that didn't go the wrong way. So,
well, I'm not an axe murderer, so.
Well, I mean, listen, at least it wasn't.
Could have been vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Hey, the first time the first artist I collaborated with, named Paulo, he's a tattoo artist now. I talked about them on the con before. The first time we met, my buddy Nate was like, "You guys should work together." So we met like outside a Circuit City parking lot, and he was like showing me his like portfolio, and he told me like years later. And by the way, this is a guy that we started going on vacation together. We did a con together. Like I went to his wedding. Years later, he was like, "Man, dude, I had no idea who I was gonna meet. I kid you not. I had my knife ready in my pocket in case you were like a weirdo." So I was like, "Okay, good to know." So yeah, it goes. Yeah. Anyways,
Toby is just way too friendly immediately with everyone he meets. That's just That's just Toby.
Energy. It's a good energy though.
He does.
Yeah.
That could have. It's funny. So okay, when you went to the store, I didn't really know who was going to be there. So, like you said, Marshall, who works at the store, I asked him, hey, is Toby around or who was going to be at the store that day? And he's like, "Oh, I'm Marshall. And, I don't want to be I don't like podcasting, so I'm not on the show." So you're not going to hear a name that, that you're familiar with. So then I just, left the books and, I didn't think anything of it. I figured that, Toby, was busy. This is some weirdo sending a message. I was going to send a message to Brock, but then I was like, I already sent one to Toby. So this is going to be very weird because I know on the previous episode, Brock was curious about some tickets. So I was going to say, hey, I put an offer out, but I was like, this is already getting weird. I'll just leave one message and just leave it at that. If I see any of you, then I'll say hi, but that's it.
Yeah. No, I showed up later in the afternoon and Marshall's like, "So podcast people came in and they're con people." And I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, "I have your book. It looks pretty cool."
Well,
Yeah, so
I just haven't gotten to it yet.
No, everybody has a huge pile. I understand. Your daughter might like it as well. So,
I saw it. I was like, "Ooh, this looks interesting."
Oh, I was going to ask, yeah. So, you were out here for the convention, just Artist Alley, right? I mean, you had a booth and everything. Like, tell your whole. So, well, this is one of my favorite parts of the podcast when we have new people on. We did a nice long intro for you guys. Tell us about yourself. We always like hearing about your people's secret origin when it comes to comic books. So, how you got into this stuff. Now you're a creator, so yeah, give us the whole spiel. I want to hear it.
Right, well, I'm going to try to keep this simple because it's very complicated. So okay, growing up, I grew up in Jamaica, so there's no market. there's no comic market, so you get comics either from the pharmacy or the supermarket, right? Or if your mother travels a lot. So
what type of stuff did they have there? I mean, were like English comics getting imported, or were they like localized versions? I have no clue what they have there.
So it's pretty much it's just whatever's on the newsstand that they throw away probably in Miami, and then they just ship them in a really shitty like container. And because here's the thing, I wish I had a picture to show you, but on the comics, they would stamp the price on it. So there's like this thing of like a rejection stamp or whatever with the price on it. So, yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're not collecting shit down there. Anyway, so no, it's like stamps. Like some of them are not in great condition. But let me stop dunking on Jamaica.
Well, we would have. Well, no, I mean, in America, what they would do for decades and decades is that the stuff would either get like the cover would be stripped off, or they would like tear like the logo off, or there would be like some sort of like they would like remainder mark them, which is they do in like bookstores where they put like a big like red like line down the top of the book. So yeah, I mean that stuff goes somewhere eventually. It doesn't surprise me at all that they would ship it off to other, sell it off to other areas. Yeah.
Stores would just handwrite in like pen, like the new price on it, or like I can't remember what the specific pen they use, but they would use a specific pen to be like, this is whatever price.
It's like the pull-off date where they take it off the shelf. Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
The sad part is I'm not even sure if some of them were like cast-offs. I think some of them were actual like. It was like regular distribution. I don't know how the newsstand stuff works, but they would get that. They would just get it way later. It's kind of like how we get whatever you get here. We get like 2 months or a month later or whatever. Yeah. Mind you, so just jumping to what I first encountered. It was like I remember I started drawing because of this Conan comic. I don't know why my mother gave me a Conan comic, but I guess because it was drawing, so she didn't know what was in it. But
it's like the Marvel stuff.
Yeah. Marvel, Conan. I in my mind, I think it was Barry Windsor Smith. I don't know. I didn't know names. I didn't know artists. I didn't know anybody. So I just remember he was in the snow and in the desert, and he was young, and he got old by the end of it, or got older by the end of it. And he had like the Barry Windsor Smith horn helmet, that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I would trace from that comic constantly. I would just constantly just draw Conan. I mean, I was pretty young too. I shouldn't have been looking in a Conan book. But yeah, I did that. But I didn't really read it. I didn't really know, what I was doing at the time. But the first one that I can remember, like actually reading was it was a Daredevil. And I'm saying all this, and I'm a DC guy, funny enough. Anyway, but it was a Daredevil. And I believe it was one of the many times he encountered the Punisher. But I even that, like it's so long ago, I can't remember exactly. Because when I'd get comics, they weren't even in sequence. Sometimes, issue whatever would come out. And then, I didn't get the continuation. If there was a cliffhanger, that's it. There was no internet.
Well, this is super common. I mean, not only for older comic fans, when it was just newsstand. Like me and Brock kind of right around in Lane and partially Kevin right around the time with the comic stores where, the direct market was kind of becoming normal. But internationally, this is just how it is. Toby went through all the same stuff, right? Where like he got just whatever they got translated in random issues. And you'll see a lot of these anthologies that will come out in parts of Europe and Asia where they'll be like, here's 6 issues of just random stuff. Who are they? Like, they're not starting from issue 1. It's just totally random. So yeah, this like in America, you know, we're like spoiled because it was like the original thing here, but what little got outside the country, yeah, it was just whatever they got. So it does not surprise me at all that there was it was just random issues.
It was slightly more organized because, you know, the Tintins and Lucky Lukes, they're all like one book per one story.
But
right?
that's local to you guys. I'm talking about the American stuff.
Which made it harder for parents to realize that the Marvel comics, which was put out by Condor Comics, that they were serialized, right? The parents will buy a random book thinking it's like a self-contained story, and then you get basically a random. And, you know, they had both. That I had the little trades, which is, you know, a sequence in the trade, half of it, and the other half was like they call it the backup, was literally another book. It would be like Captain America for his first half, Namor for the second half. But
just 2 random issues.
Yeah, and then unless you got the next one to go right after, if mom doesn't buy, like, you know, the next issue comes and goes, and you have like another, I don't know, like 5 issues down, and you get that book, so you can't even connect the stories. So you kind of you get
well, and from the early 1900s to like 1960, that was fine because there was no continuity, there was no ongoing stuff, right? A Batman or a Superman book was all standalone. All the Looney Tunes and Disney comics were just. It was just a story. Everyone knew Mickey Mouse. It didn't matter. Everyone knew who Donald Duck was. It was just a story. There was no continuity.
Like, you know, when I was reading it, it was a lot of the Captain America run by, oh gosh, what's the writer's name now?
Was it Mark Greenwald?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, which is heavy continuity in there for the 80s. Yeah.
I mean, Archie's ruled down there, as you know, based on what you were saying.
Same reason.
Exactly. Yep. You didn't really have to follow anything.
Yeah, I mean, every book was, you kind of are starting at ground zero for every single issue because nothing really changed in 40. Well, with Archie, nothing really changed for like 70 years with that character.
Yeah.
You know, way less than, you know, it's like I feel like the Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Archie, you know, Looney Tunes, like those kind of stay like sort of almost like frozen in amber. Like they don't really do a lot. I mean, there is continuity. But not the way like Marvel and DC has it. It's done in a very a different way. Even like Tintin and Asterix, that stuff has continuity, but again, such a different way.
Yeah, there's like
Archie's
I think there's 2 Tintin books that were in sequence. It was like the Moon one. There's like the pre-Moon one, and there's like the Moon one. But the other ones you don't have to read in order. Mostly, at least not mostly, at least. Yeah.
We're all a lot of us on the podcast are going to be reading an Archie book. What, this week?
Well, yeah. I mean, I read Archie stuff from time to time. But yeah, the Tom King one.
No, because Tom King's Archie comes out this week.
It does. Yes, it does. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, everyone's like, excited.
It's going to be depressing. I feel sorry for what's going to happen to Archie. Oh no. I mean, I'm happy, but not for Archie.
Archie in crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So did you move to America, then like kind of like get into comics like proper, or how did you come here for school?
Yes,
or
he got into DC.
Next step?
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Wait, that's a complicated.
Sorry,
not really. No. Here's the thing. Yeah, I did eventually get into DC, but there was a seminal moment that really kind of affected me. So, remember. Only could get comics if somebody traveled. My mother would travel. She'd dole them out like as currency, whatnot, get me to do stuff, right? But there's this one kid at school that used to sell comics. I don't know how he got them, but he'd sell like trades. And he had a Wildcats trade, like issues 1 to 4, and he had like one of the Venom, the Todd McFarlane Venom ones, like when the, you know, whatever. And it was super thick, and I was like, yo, I gotta get these. So I gave him like a week's worth of lunch money for these 2 trades. Cool. We're besties, even though he ripped me off, right? My mother gave me this Punisher annual. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I remember bringing it to school the week after, and he's like, yo, can I borrow it? I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever. I read it already, whatever. I don't know why I brought this comic to school. I already read it. I guess I was showing it off, whatever. So I remember like maybe the next day, a few days later, I asked him, yo, what about the Punisher comic? Can I get it back? And he said, no. And I said, no, I want my comic back. And he's like, no. And anyway, that exchange happened for maybe like another 30 seconds. And I think I pushed him. And then we started fighting. And then it turned into this like knockdown, drag out thing where actually midway through the fight, I was like, yo, this is kind of like Thor getting thrown through a wall or something, because he was throwing me into desks and chairs. And, we're just beating the shit out of each other, right? Mind you, I wasn't winning this. He was way bigger than me. I remember at one point, I remember this because I was upside down and I was like, yo, I'm going to punch him in the nuts. He didn't flinch. I was like, yo, this is crazy. And he threw me across. I guess he felt it eventually. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw one of my friends just watching from the door, like, the door of the classroom. I'm like, yo, wait, seriously? In my head, I didn't say it, because I was getting beat up, right? Anyway, we're fighting, and then we just kept fighting until we were tired. Kind of like the end of Fist of the North Star, where they just stop.
Oh,
yeah, right? Yeah, power without perception, right? Yeah. Anyway.
I could do this all day.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those. So, and this is where it gets blurry. My friend's there, and then, I guess, I don't know, the dude, he just walks off. We just end it, right? The next day, dude comes back, gives me the comic, the Punisher, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then we became friends. And at that point, I was like, I'll do anything for comics. So I guess this is an important thing to me. And it just blossomed from there, because at that point, I think eventually I picked up an issue of Grant Morrison's Justice League.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what? Down with no, not down with them. I would never say that. No. I actually love all of them. It's just that I kind of gravitated toward the characters a lot because of Morrison's run on JLA, and kind of just, really kind of just grew with them from there. And that was like in the 90s. Like, I don't, when Morrison's run came out, whenever
like
that is, that's
when in there. Yeah.
Because I was collecting those, because I'd read the Justice League International before, and I liked it, but I didn't understand it. But I liked it a lot because, like I said, I wasn't getting consistent issues, so I loved the art and I thought it was funny and interesting. But I didn't know who half the people were in the book. So, I mean, Morrison gets the medal for that one. And then, like I said, was in the comics, whatever. And then I went to school in Florida, art school in like 99. I left home in 99, and I went to school for 3D stuff, like 3D animation, whatnot.
Cool.
And how'd you get into the comics then, or back into comics? Like, I know there's a love for comics, but
I never. Okay, so I never left it. Really. Sorry. Go
or a Punisher annual.
Yeah, right. Well, here's the thing. I'm not like a. That's the funniest thing. The Punisher is like the bottom of the barrel for characters for me in terms of my interest at this point.
Yeah, it was beat out of you.
Yeah, you're right. You're very right. But I think about it from time to time, and I think the problem with that whole situation was that it's because my mother brought, like, she brought it from her little stash. Yeah. So I think that was probably a part of it, as opposed to just the Punisher. So in my head, like, I see my mother's head on top of the Punisher's body every time I think of her. Yeah, so
Man, a therapist would have a field day.
Right? You should never see the cards that I would send her. Anyway, no, but yeah, I started. I went to school for animation and whatnot, but that didn't mean I wasn't doing comics, because if you go into if you're in good classes for animation, they have like traditional stuff. And I actually, in my life drawing classes and my character design and storyboarding classes, I had a teacher that was actually working in comics. And funny enough, when I graduated, he had gotten me a job for Classics Illustrated. Not a happy story. Couldn't take the job because my work permit didn't come in yet. So it didn't come in for like 6 months. So what's funny? Yeah, right. It sucks a lot, because I was doing a lot of comics during that time while in school, because it's all storytelling. I mean, the way I'd storyboard as if I was making a comic, but I'd also just make comics with my friend Nate, who also wrote the comic.
The giant Warrior maintenance crew, yeah.
So yeah, we'd work together a lot and stuff. And but the thing is, when I couldn't take the job at Classics Illustrated, the funny thing is because I had different offers as well to do other things. But like I say, 6 months in, I got the work permit. And the funny part of it is, I looked at the work permit, and you know what it said? It said the work permit started 6 months from this time of application, so I could have taken any of those jobs, but no. But for one, they didn't tell me. That my advisor, nobody told me, so I was just there sitting on my hands, like, you know, because I wasn't trying to break any laws. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. And,
this is why you always read the directions and the instructions, people.
Yeah, right. I mean,
jeez.
But yeah, that didn't. But I was still making comics. I was making comics with Nate and whatnot, and I would do stuff here, and I'd do little like side jobs and whatnot. But what put me in the situation where I'm kind of dealing with the GalaxyCon stuff, I'm just trying to zip through right here, is that my girlfriend at this time, her chiropractor knew a guy that was doing like these really, and he would even say this, these really tiny shows in a gym, and I was like, I'm not interested in this.
Oh, you've piqued Kevin's interest.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is up Kevin's alley.
Oh no, you wouldn't want to go to these shows, Kevin. No. You would get nothing of value there. No. But no, this is a while back. So anyway, we're doing I decided to go to one of these because the chiropractor friend said, no, I already told him you're gonna show up, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this, because at the time I was doing more corporate stuff, and I was making good money. I would do comics, but it was I don't have time for this anymore. I've evolved, which is bullshit, obviously. It always stays with you. But yeah, I ended up going to one of his going to the show. It wasn't much of anything happening there, and but he liked my work. The guy, that's the guy that Mike, that
Mike, yeah,
that Toby, yeah. He liked my work, and he pretty much commissioned me to do the cover for his big show that summer, and he invited me to come to the show, and then a relationship kind of blossomed from there, and I started just kind of easing more and more into the comic stuff and more of the convention stuff. But it was really Nikki that kind of put me on that path, because I didn't want to do conventions. I didn't want to do any of this stuff. I would just like do my.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's being like a professional like con goer. Like doing it every weekend or every couple of times a month or something. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot.
It's the emotional. It's the emotional selling. Like just dealing with the people. I love them, but the thing is, it's a lot, because you're dealing with so many people. It's not that you're invested in one. You're invested in even if it's 10 people. I mean, it's more than that. But even if trying to be focused on 10 people just for a whole day straight, no, that's a lot. And you guys know, you're in the retail world. It's a lot.
That's why I just talk a lot at people and scare them off.
It's a good. I mean, I'm gonna look into it.
Ryan charges for psychiatry charges to the customers that come in. Yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story?
You've heard me say this in this podcast. Probably, I feel like every other episode I say this. I'm like 50% therapist, 50% bartender, and like 1% comic shop owner. It's just like so much of the job, is interacting with people and being, it's oh yeah, I sold you some comics, but now here's the 6-hour conversation about other stuff, right? It's a very strange job.
Okay. Well, it's funny you say that. You know who is literally a psychiatrist? Frank Quietly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, he doesn't. He acts like one, because we're next to each other one time, and it was funny because like people would come up to him and then they'd talk, and he'd have these commissions or maybe pages. I don't remember what they were, but he was doing his beautiful art as usual, and he's drawing, and then he would stop just dead stop. And his agent was right there, and he would just have these full on conversations. And I'm like, yo, this is hilarious. He wouldn't do, he was just sitting there, folded his legs, and he's just not drawing anymore and just chatting. And what was funny is I remember one particular conversation he was talking about, he was giving this guy marriage advice. He's like, yeah, well, if you love her, then you should, you really should propose. And I'm watching this commission just sit there, and I'm like, you know what? You do you, man. Because there's this thing, the fellow artists probably understand this. Sometimes when you walk away from the thing anyway, you end up doing a better job. So, I mean, you know what? That commission probably turned out even better just because he wasn't working on it consistently. So
I think with a lot of these professional comic artists too, I mean, I hear this all the time, right? I mean, it's a pretty lonely job. You're kind of stuck away in your room, in your office all the time. Some people have, they have like studios, so they have other people there, but a lot of people just kind of do it themselves. So I assume for a lot of the artists, especially, conventions are a great way to get out there and talk to people and meet people and see your friends. And, it gets you out of the house. So I'm sure it's not easy, but it's probably good, so you're not just sitting around, especially coming like to the big US cons, because you have so many people. I feel like a lot of European conventions, like it's a lot of the European people there, but the American audience doesn't go there. But the American audience, like Comic-Con in New York, like will draw the international crowds here too. So it's probably a really good meeting for the bigger creators when they come out here, because I'm like, oh yeah, these are the people that I see, these are my friends that I get to see once a year or once every other year. Sure, it can be a lonely experience if you're never leaving your little studio.
I mean, you're very right. I mean, it is excellent for networking though, if that's your thing. Because but even then, I have encountered people that like in even some of the strangest places. What was it? I did a small library show many years ago, and I mean, well, none of you saw my booth, so you don't know some. Okay, so I saw a small library show. I was at a small library show, sorry, and this guy passes by and he sees my stuff, and then he's like, oh, this is really good, and he hands me a card. And it's like, it said Burger King International, whatever, marketing, whatever. It's like, hey, would you be interested in talking to my marketing people on Monday? Whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, it turned out, it wasn't a joke. It was, I literally made a contact with their marketing team to.
Nice. Real money, not the fake comic money, real money. Well, Burger King money.
From a library show, no less.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where that's it's like a mix of things, like those directors, right? When they one for me, one for you. Like I tried it, or I said Nicole and I tried to do the bigger jobs, and then we'll put it into like whatever projects we want to work on. Like that one I gave you, the giant robot one. Like, okay, for example, like I gave you that Gotcha Man variant cover, right?
Yeah.
And that one was through GalaxyCon, because they had an arrangement with Tatsunoko. So it's like a con cover. It's not, it didn't go through
convention exclusive.
Okay, there you go. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
It's convention exclusive, but but those are two perfect examples of kind of how we work. Like, and mind you, I enjoyed doing that cover. It was super fun, but still, it was just a cover, and then did the full.
Well, everything I've heard from artists, doing the license stuff or the corporate stuff, you don't have a lot of leeway. You're kind of given an assignment, so that's one type of job. When you get to create your own thing, you can do whatever the hell you want, but that's a completely different stretch, right? Like you have to come up with stuff and come up with ideas and figure out what to do. If you're just like, draw Batman, okay, I could draw Batman. You know, you don't have to put too much thought into it. You can, but I think that's, you know, a lot of people, they eventually get out of those corporate jobs and they want to do their own thing. And for a lot of people, it's really hard to create something, especially lasting or original. So I get why so many people, you know, they'll come back. Okay, let's go back and do the corporate stuff, because that's a little bit, I don't want to say it's safer or easier. It's just different.
Well,
Then you're in full control of your own creation. That's a huge gamble, but it can have the most success.
I think you're right, and I don't necessarily even think that safe means easy. It's safe just mean it's like a comfort zone. Yeah,
I
agree with you there.
Yeah, it's not easy, because you have other people, you know, that are like staring over you and telling you to fix this, fix that. If you can kind of shut your brain off,
guide.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to kind of shut your brain off to a degree, because it's, at the end of the day, it's not your thing, but you know, you're going to want to put your little spin on it, or, you know, they hired you for a reason. So, you know, it's
no, you're right.
Tough line to walk there.
Well, a good example is with the Tatsunoko notes. They were very interesting because they're very particular. And say, I don't know if you remember who Junpei is. He's the little kid in Gacha. Okay.
Yeah.
So with him, I gave him like a real human boy's face initially, and the notes came back with like this PDF with like circles drawn around the face, lines coming out saying no, and then like a picture of Junpei. You know, Junpei has a very unique face from the animation, and they're like, that's it. That, you know, that's what I heard in my head when I saw the picture.
Yeah,
that's his face. So I had to kind of I guess dehumanize his face a little bit. You know, give him the little dot eyes and whatnot, which, you know, was cool. Yeah. It was still fun. But going to what you just said, I think there can be two schools of thought in terms of how artists work, though, because you have or I should say creators, because it doesn't necessarily have to be art, but you have creators that like the direction. They like having like a goal, like, okay, this is what needs to be drawn. For example, and I'm not saying this is fully George Perez, but they always said that he was one of those people that didn't have a set idea of what he was going to draw. So he would take some time when he did a commission, right? So he'd draw, you know, whatever, and, you know, you could see he was putting some thought into it. Where you have some artists, and this would go to what I was saying before, where they have like a set like pose or whatever, and that's what they'll give all the time. No, I don't think that's wrong. I don't think anything's wrong with it, but I think having that set like look and set pose that you probably do as a commissioner or as a sketch is probably is a good representation of like a creator or artist or whatever that but when they work, it's just easier, or not easier, it's more comfortable when it's like, okay, well, this is the task and do it, and they do it well, as opposed to, you know, the wishy-washy, I want to live on the moon and, you know, eat, you know, ice cream all the time, people like me that just want to
this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah, this is how I'm feeling. Oh, look at my old hard eyes.
You've heard me talk about my wife Leanne all the time, right? She's an art teacher, right? So I mean, I hear this from her all the time, where it's, you know, like she tells the students, you know, well, you just have to finish projects.
Yes.
Like, good or bad, it's just done. Like, eventually you have to sign off on it. Eventually you just have to hit save and ship it, right? Like, you can't work on something forever. You know, what's like good enough is good enough, right? Like, you have to have the thing done, and especially that could be a real tough for, I think, younger artists who are getting into the industry, because they think everything has to be perfect. Yeah. Nothing's perfect, and whatever you do is not perfect. Like, you know, you look how many times, you know, we've seen, go back and look at original artwork. It doesn't happen so much these days because so much stuff's digital. But if you go back and look at all this comic art from, you know, all the way into the 80s and 90s, there's whiteout, there's stuff erased, there's panels that are moved, there's faces that are replaced. That, you know, when you see the actual boards, you're like, oh, this is far from perfect. Then the colorist comes in and changes stuff. Then the editor's like, crap, we got to move that panel over here, and then they cut it up even more. You know, like, yeah, it's, you know, I'm not saying don't do a good job. Of course, do a good job, but it's like, but there's no such thing as perfect. You just got to do it.
Yeah,
you know? Work is very different than your own personal creativity.
It definitely is. You know, we'll say this anytime we have to do any kind of like panels or teaching or mentoring. It's you know, if you put it in perspective, like a style is literally just a collection of mistakes that everybody accepts.
Yeah. Totally,
you know,
right.
That's all it comes down to. And, you know, even on top of that, like as an artist starting out, yes, work on your craft, all that stuff. But if you can, it's good to just even get some basic business knowledge, some basic professional development skills. You know, just learn how to, and you guys know you started a business, you know, just learning how to just start a little LLC or whatever, just small things like that. Because one of the things with me as well, with all that stuff I told you about before, I ended up just working for myself for pretty much the whole period of time. I'd have contracts and stuff, but I never really, quote unquote, I guess, worked for a firm. The only time I did, well, I didn't really work for the firm. I guess I was a contractor. But anyway, the point is, I only did that because I saw some of my other friends that graduated. They started their own businesses and stuff because they all got fired. Like, you know, that whole grind thing. They hired them for 6 months and then they got let go.
Yeah.
You know, I have friends that were at Blizzard. People are at Ready at Dawn, and I remember we're happy for them, and we still are happy that, you know, that worked out for them when they graduated and stuff. But their whole dream was, you know,
it's not their thing, right? I mean, you're just an employee. Like, you're only there until the CEO and the shareholders don't want you there anymore, you know, and then, you're a random person laid off. But a steady paycheck's a really nice thing. So I don't blame anyone that wants a steady paycheck.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I always say balance. That's kind of what it's about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, we do corporate work and we love it. Like, that's also another thing, going to what your wife said. It's, your feelings don't matter when it comes to the job, but sometimes you can transpose some of those feelings. Like, I try to have enthusiasm on whatever it is I'm working on. Mm-hmm. Like that, you know, do some research. At least I try to do research. I know Nicole does a lot of research. Do research.
Yeah, I mean, put the most into it, but at the end of the day, realize it's not your thing. It's not your project. It's, you know, like you hope it goes over well, and that's great. But at the end of the day, you know, they don't really have that much say, because there's 1,000 people ahead of you that are going to say, oh, we want this, we want that. Oh, I don't like that. And it's like, you just can't take it personally, really. I don't think, right? No. It's a job. It's a job. And, you know, it always changes. Well, I know, like, you know, especially with Marvel and DC, you know, I know people constantly are like, you know, all these creators should be paid way more. And, you know, and they should, right? Everyone should. But, you know, but these days, I think if you're getting into American comics, you understand. I don't think there's any surprise as to what's going on. You understand what you're getting into. If you create a character, it's not yours; it's the company's. Blah blah blah. But then I see stuff like the page rates, or sorry, the money that people are getting for like webtoons and all that stuff, and it is peanuts. You know, a couple hundred of people are making real livings off of it, and literally millions of other people are making nothing, and the company makes billions of dollars, right? So it's like, you know, I mean, it's just a different audience. It's a younger audience, but I just like, man, this is the same, right? I mean, there's just art's really hard, and it's not getting easier. So just, you've got to be aware what you're getting into. If you're in the creative end of it, you know, corporate art, you know, doing stuff for marketing could be very fulfilling. It's just very different than some sort of fictional creative art. So,
yeah, I mean, I would say no, a lot of those artists at these shows would pretty much say networking is probably one of the biggest things you do. And any creator at those shows, it's a lot of networking. Like if you go in any of those green rooms and stuff, everybody's talking to each other. They're probably thinking about their next projects, whether it's an actor or a voice actor or whoever it is. Like everybody's talking, everybody's socializing, and that's probably one of the most important parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Toby, you can talk about this too, because I mean, you've done some stuff in Hollywood adjacent stuff, and so
when I was working movies, and I never worked on any of the unionized movies. All I did was a bunch of Hallmark movies and commercials and music videos. I never wrote one resume out. It was literally, you go to the rap parties and you talk to the people and you basically see what their next gig is. And then you basically line up the next few gigs. You're working next week and what now? Do you need another crew member? Okay, I'm on this movie for 2 months or 2 weeks, right? And then I talk to the next guy who, might have lined up a commercial for a weekend and I jump on that. So it is literally all network. I mean, I never once looked for a job. It was all literally I wouldn't say part of partying, but you network at the parties. You literally go, you find your next job at the party.
Yeah, just because you're having fun doesn't mean you're not working, right?
Yeah, exactly. Always working. No, always working. Yeah.
That's what I tell everyone about Comic-Con. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's also kind of always work too. Yeah. So they take on different meanings when you're on this side of the counter or this side of the field. It's not that it's not fun. It's a ton of fun, but it's just different. Everything looks a little different when you're well, you guys understand, when your hobby becomes your job, it's an extremely different way of looking at stuff. Everything, if you're just a comic fan and you're like, I hate comics, you could just walk away and never look back.
Yeah.
I kind of can't. I kind of don't have that option. I mean, I guess I could. I just wouldn't have a job. But if I wanted to still have a house to live in, I kind of can't do that. So you have to just do things differently than the way a regular person can.
Now, I know you work with Nikki and Nicole. How did that come about? Because you guys do the shows together now, right?
Yeah, and it's makes things so much easier.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, I mean, I'll let you do your thing. I didn't want to.
Well, how I got into comics was I grew up in Miami, and I would say the first notable comic would probably be from Disney Adventure Magazine, and it was
those were big deals. For non kind of traditional comic fans. The a lot of those those 90s 80s and 90s magazine comics were a big kind of linking point for people to come into the more traditional comic industry.
Yeah, it was the gateway drug, and so I have very fond memories of Bone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And also, whenever I did well in school or maybe had a doctor's appointment or something, my mom would take me to Eckerd's and we'd go and grab a Sonic Archie comic.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, those are really rad.
The digest ones or comic?
The comic. Yeah.
The comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, those Sonic comics are crazy popular and actually worth quite a bit of money now. Just it was such a unique fandom that those comics brought in specifically.
Unique is right.
well, not everyone. I'm saying they're
what are you hinting at, Ryan?
well, no. If
he's right, just
you're right.
Google
Jose,
Sonic.
By the way, there's a big crowd of that in San Jose.
Google the Sonic Archie comic. There's stuff, Toby. If you don't know this, anyone listening, there is. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying there was some unique fandoms that came out of the Sonic Archie comics. The internet. Has a fun day with those, but they're weird comics too.
They're
real strange,
very bizarre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like that's what kind of got me into it. And like later manga and then when I was in school, I studied abroad in Brighton, England for half a year, and one of my friends got me obsessed with Watchmen of all things.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was another really great
Who are you in Watchmen?
Oh man, doesn't it change?
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
God, I hope no one. Like, I hope no one's anyone in Watchmen.
I don't think there's a great answer to that question.
I don't know. I mean,
Watchmen is always that book where people are like, "Yeah, so I read Watchmen. What else should I read?" And I'm like, "I don't know, nothing." Like, it just kind of
everything's downhill after that. No,
like I mean, I know. Society has changed, and some of the themes of Watchmen people are a little bit, have not turned on, but it's viewed a little bit differently now. But it is still one of those like, man, there was just nothing like this ever. It's a little different now. There's more stuff like Watchmen, but it just reading that anytime from its original launch into like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, like it stood above anything else in the medium. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Moore's stuff in general is just kind of out there, like in a good way. Yeah, and I mean, all during this time, I was classically trained in the fine arts, and during college, I actually I did Artist Alley kind of on the side, and for some pocket money, and I was like, oh, this is like kind of wild. I'm actually like making some decent money from this. Maybe this is something that I can continue to do for funsies, because I've been going to conventions since 2004. So that was pretty awesome. And then just decided to do it I don't want to say like professionally, but maybe like semi-professionally. And at one of the conventions that Mervyn was at, I think I was an Artist Alley. So
yeah, but I didn't know you.
No. But
I didn't know it was. I didn't. You were dressed as Luffy or something. But I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you, and you didn't know me. That was about it.
I also cosplay, so there's that. And
was it like Anime Con, or was this like a traditional like Western comic convention?
It's hard to categorize what it was. It was okay. This is getting into the weeds now. It was the old SuperCon, like the East Coast SuperCon, not Super-Con.
Mike was telling about that. Like there was two SuperCons. There's the West Coast one that we had.
There was probably 20 SuperCons. Yeah. I'm sure there were. Yeah, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's a common name. Yeah.
So, well, it's funny because didn't really know her then, but the thing is, and like when we started like talking or whatever, I went to what was it? It was a MegaCon, and and then she wanted to like enter the costume contest or something, so she was like, all right, we'll just go up together. And then she kind of helped me kind of rearrange my booth, because I was doing them here and there once in a while. I was like, whatever, I'll do it for the fun of it. I get to buy comics. I wouldn't even stay at my booth most of the time. I was walking around talking to people. So I wouldn't even make any money because I just couldn't sit there. That's another thing. It's hard to sit in this one.
It is so much work.
Yeah.
That's so much work.
So she helped rearrange the booth. She kind of said, put prices on your stuff. What's wrong with you? So I did all that. And then she slept on the booth because she was tired and needed to, get her sleep for the convention.
I took a nap, by the way. This was not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
Don't make me sound like overly.
Yeah. You always have to sleep on the con floor once. Yeah. Once, if it's a bucket list item.
Yeah. Good thing there's a lot of bags there. So that happened, and then we're like, oh, this kind of works, and we started kind of just doing shows together. And funny enough, we didn't even necessarily have the same booth. Sometimes we'd be kind of apart, but then eventually we started having booths together, and it just worked so much better. And it's, I would say, for anybody doing convention stuff, if you have a partner, you don't have to be married to them. They could be a friend, but somebody you trust. It helps things work so much better because
if you get to go away. I mean, if you walk away, it's not the end of the world. And
yes,
yeah.
But even in terms of logistics, in terms of booking hotels or even just travel or setting up the
setup
booth,
goes so much faster.
Yes, set up like all those things. Like it definitely it's just one of those. I forgot the mathematical term, but you just added a 1 to it.
Two is better than 1.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. There you go.
People always ask at the shop, they're like, "Oh, you guys setting up with these cons?" And I'm like, "Hell no!" Like, I hate working conventions.
No,
we
I've
used
done that-
to,
I've
right?
done that
Fine,
once.
just be honest.
No.
You just don't want to deal with
No.
me.
I just don't want to deal with any of it. Like God bless everyone that does conventions, but it is a absolute ton of work. A ridiculous
when we did
amount
Big
of work.
Wow, I was like, this sucks.
It's just a lot of work. It is different. Like Artist Alley is different than like a store, but it's a lot of the same problems where it's you're moving everything around. Who knows? You've got to kind of be on the whole time because when I'm at the shop again, I just kind of sit there and people can walk in. I mean, I still have to interact with them, but when you're at a booth at a con, you're like you have to sell, right?
Yeah.
If you're at Artist Alley, so
I can't lie, man. I can't. When I was helping Lord with this,
like you're good at it,
dude,
Toby.
I love it, man. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. It like
I'll
kicks
keep that
something
in mind.
Yeah, man, dude.
You're hired.
I kind of dig it. I don't know. I actually, so I sometimes
He'll sleep underneath the table.
No, I feel like sometimes I'm a social vampire. Like the more people are around, the more alive I get, and then when people disappear, and that's when I actually get tired. Like when there's people around, I'm like energized the entire time. But the minute everybody starts going home, that's when it really hits me. Like it's weird because like as long as people around, I'm like, all right, let's go.
No, that makes sense. You're feeding off their energy. You're gregarious, I guess, by nature. You're definitely an extrovert. Well, it's funny because you say you like working a booth. We have friends that say that too, and anytime we see them, they're like, "Oh man, yeah, wow, it's so great. Oh, what's the next show? Oh man, we'd love to come." And I'm like, sure, but I mean, mind you, like I said, it's not that we don't like doing what we do, but for us, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot, especially with the travel. So my hat's off to you. Like, I mean, that's
I'll be honest. So it's the selling it, right? I mean, Lord has his stuff, his prints and stuff figured out. So I it was easy for me to come in and help out, right? There are other times where I 1 year did a booth for my friend Paulo, who's the artist on the comic that I did years ago, and we did like a half a booth, and it's tough sometimes, when nobody comes by too. That's like it saps a little energy out of that too. So it's a challenge either way, right? So, but I don't know, man. It's you got to keep doing it, and I honestly I just enjoy it, man. Well, I just enjoy people in general. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that though, because I'd say with us, the interesting thing about the shows is that just going back to two people or more running a booth, having separate eyes, like because I ask her to be very critical of what I do, and I think, I mean, you want me to do the same because it is business at the end of the day.
No, of course.
So what's funny is years ago we went to KatsuCon. That's an anime con over in National Harbor. So it's between like Maryland and Virginia or whatever.
Yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah.
So I wasn't like, this is like when we were just starting out, and I wasn't making any money. It was like, I have my superhero stuff there, and nothing's happening
at the anime convention.
Listen, sometimes you got to go against the grain, okay?
Look,
got to go against the grain. So she, she's doing her chibi stuff, and she's like, she's killing it. And then she said, "Hey, look, just like this is not working out for you. Why don't you just draw some chibis or something? Like just offer some chibis." And so I offered it, and begrudgingly offered it, and then I people started coming. And they wanted chibis. And it was one of those interesting things where I wouldn't have decided to do that. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to KatsuCon in the first place, but I wouldn't have decided to even start doing chibis. I'd have just, packed up and gone home and said, this show sucks. But what she kind of taught me, and she kept doing at different shows, is she was willing to kind of just remix things and change things up. Because I remember the first time at New York Comic Con, we were helping another booth, and it wasn't going well for maybe the first 3 days, right? And remember, it's a 4-day show, so that's pretty much 3/4 of the show, right?
Yeah.
And so they gave her, they put us in charge of the booth, and I was like, okay, for the Sunday. And mind you, in 3 days at New York Comic Con previously, badly. In 1 day, she literally quadrupled what was made in the first 3.
Excellent.
And all because she shifted around the booth and started offering things people cared about. So it's just being, just being aware of who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? These are people too. Like put yourself in their shoes. These customers, they want things they're interested in. And if they're not interested in them, then you have to make them interested in them. But try to do it, honestly and fairly. You know what I mean?
It's tough because you have to know your audience, but you also can't fake it.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy to just like try to, I'm just going to do the hot thing that everyone loves now, and I'm not really into it, and that's going to show, right? Yeah. Like you have to actually be okay. This is, if it's way out of your wheelhouse, then it's not going to work. But if you're like, oh no, this is what I do, just adapted for the crowd. Yeah, that's how you sell stuff, right? You have to figure it out.
I want to say there was an artist, I think in Comic-Con, the name is escaping me right now, but there was an artist that did kind of like a cute style of characters, but she did all original characters, right? So I got her to commission like, I think, a little Black Cat in her style. And then she admitted to me the year after that was like the first time she tackled superheroes. And then that became her thing. She did all like the supers in her style, but that became a ongoing thing for her. Because like she started with original characters, and then she used her style and started doing a bunch of superheroes, and I think it really worked out for her eventually.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that someone else would have asked for something in that manner anyway. It's not that I was like my thing that set her off in the past, but it's
those are cases where, right, I mean, when you're not, a big superstar, you have to take your style but adapt it to things they like. Then people like you for you, not because you drew Batman, but because of your style. Then you can make your characters stand out and do something with it. Yep. Yeah, it's real hard to launch something just straight out the gate, wholly original, completely unique style, and everyone loves it. For a lot of people, it's tough. It's real tough. Yeah.
Yeah, they look through you. I mean, it's like, that thing where you walk in the middle of the aisle and you try not to make eye contact with anybody on any side. And you're like,
I'll be honest, man. At cons, I like to do the walk, like literally walk through every aisle, and it's one of those. I feel for all them small press people that want to sell to you. But I literally want to, I basically, I will stop if it catches my eye. But yeah, there's the times where I'm like, I respect you all. But on the other hand, I want to just make sure I walk through every aisle too, Yeah.
I have been on both sides of the counter on both situations many times. And I'm like, and I get it both ways. Yeah. I don't like, you have to know the hard sell, who is going to work on, who it's not going to work on. You can turn people off real fast, right? If you're super pushy and the person's not going to be receptive to it. But if you're just ignoring everyone that walks by, that's not good either, right? I mean, again, you have to know.
The worst is the ones where you walk by and they're like either on their phone or playing video games or something. Like, well, this guy doesn't care, all right?
Yeah, I infamously...
That was Kyle Higgins the whole show.
Busy.
Every time I saw him, he was on his phone. It was hilarious.
I infamously will not support artists if I'm clearly looking at their work and they're just ignoring me. I just think that's really disrespectful.
Yeah.
But again, I have to do this at the store all the time. There are times where people come in and I'm like, this is someone that knows exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're looking for. They are clearly going, they understand.
They're on a mission.
I've never seen them before, but they know what's going on. And then other times people wander in and they kind of stop and look and kind of do that little look around, and that's I'm like, okay, this is the person that I need to approach. Well, it's too many colors. It's someone that needs help. And they may or may not ask for it. So I don't pounce on people that come in the door the second they come in because I don't like that. But I'm also not going to let someone wander around and never say anything to them. It's there are certain people that you have to get really good at reading people.
The better ones are the ones where you ask a question. They ask you a question, you answer, and then they don't respond back.
Yes, that happens so much. That happens so much.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I you can't take too much of it personally. Everyone, there's a lot of weirdos out there, so you just sort of you do what you do, and you move on. I mean, it can be tough, and like I especially like when we're in the shop on a Wednesday and it's real busy. I'll have like regular customers in, having like multiple conversations, trying to help another customer at the same point, and it's like kind of maneuvering between groups of people all trying to also work and do things. It can be real tough. And at a convention, you have sound and there's some asshole two blocks over that's pounding music and annoying everyone. And there's some giant person in some huge cosplay outfit getting in the way. And and there's 12 other people next door bothering. Like there's a lot of stuff that's pulling people's attentions away. So it's even harder at a convention. You have to be real good at reading people. And it's just a thing I think a lot of people can't do, right? I'm not saying I'm great at it, but you learn it eventually.
Just good,
if you do it long enough.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, well, yeah. The longer you do it. I don't want to keep you guys. Go ahead.
I had one of those funny at GalaxyCon right at the beginning. I went there late on Friday night, but Charlie called me right as I walked into Harvey, an old friend I haven't seen in a couple of years, while my coworker that went with me wouldn't stop yapping. So I got one guy that wouldn't stop talking, Charlie on the phone, and then Harvey going, "Hey man, it's been a few years." So I was like, too many at the same time. Too many at the same time.
Yeah. I find that's Comic Cons.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long because I know it's East Coast. You guys it's super late there. But Kevin, Lane, Brock, you guys, I haven't heard much about your time at the cons. And do you want to, Toby? Do we want to still do?
Cape and Cowl?
Do you want to talk briefly about Cape and Cowl too? If you guys want to talk
let's
a few minutes about
what Kevin and Lane did for Galaxy, and we can jump over to Cape and Cowl for a bit. Cape and Cowl didn't take very long. It was just a lovely local con.
Yeah. I just want to hear a little about it.
I don't know who you want first.
It doesn't matter. Whoever wants to.
You're talking.
Well, I only went Sunday, so I'll be last.
I went Saturday. Lane went all days.
Well, and Brock, you brought the kids too, right? So you have
my
more
con experience was not. Yeah, mine was not as behind the counter heavy. I mean, we got the tickets through GalaxyCon. They provided it for us because the shop and stuff. So thank you to GalaxyCon for that. I ended up going with my son and my daughter and my son's friend. I specifically went to go see Joelle Jones because she does not come to the West Coast very often. And I should have brought stuff for like Fabio Moon and the Seven to Eternity guy. I can't remember off the top of my head. Pena, thank you. But we actually, since it's local, we took the bus from where we live just because it was just cheaper and easier. But we spent all day on Saturday at the con. My kids wanted to do things. So my daughter got to meet Jodie Benson for a table selfie. She's cool. The voice actress for Ariel. And my son, who is a One Piece lover, got to meet Colleen Klinkenbeard, pronouncing her name right, who's Luffy in One Piece, and then Jay something, I can't remember his name, but he's a villain in One Piece, and apparently it's his favorite villain. So they got table selfies with them, and then my son's friend got a picture with somebody from My Hero Academia.
Another one of the voice actors.
Yeah, one of the voice actors.
There was a ton of voice actors.
Yeah,
at GalaxyCon.
And then the only things I specifically went for was Joelle Jones to get her to sign her Deluxe Lady Killer. And that's the
one thing I missed. I forgot to bring the Joelle Jones stuff. That's the one thing I missed at this con.
I actually brought the base for the Catwoman wedding dress statue.
Nice.
And so she signed that for me. I got a print of where she's standing in the mirror admiring the dress. But I got to talk to her for a little bit, and apparently she even had difficulty she never got a Catwoman dress statue comp. She had to track one down, and a shop in Chicago actually got it for her. So yeah, so we talked about that, and that she kind of plans her cons around what she wants to do in the area. So if there's nothing she wants to do in the area, she doesn't go to those cons.
Hopefully,
But
that she came to San Jose, because there's not a whole lot happened in San Jose.
well,
She went
so
to
San
Winchester
Jose,
House, actually.
she went to
Yeah.
Winchester Mystery House,
Yeah.
and she went to the Rosicrucian Museum.
Nice.
So those were the things that, like, she was like, yeah, I'm going to do those on Monday. So, but had a nice talk with her, met Kyle Higgins. And like I said, Fabio Moon was there, but I completely didn't want to drag my absolute day tripper. I should have made one of the kids carry it, but oh well. And then, yeah, I did get a print from Chad Harden. He did a death print, so I grabbed that one. And then I talked to Max Brooks briefly at the end on Saturday, and thanked him for all of the wonderful work he does trolling dumb people on the internet on Twitter, which he said thank you. And I got his Rogue butt sticker and the Deadpool sticker. But yeah, the main thing that I went to go see actually was I went for a celebrity photo op for a young gentleman named John Cleese. So I got a picture with John Cleese, and I actually got interrupted by Terry. What's her last name?
Farrell? Terry Farrell?
Yeah, Terry Farrell. She interrupted the photo op right as I was about to go, and so they were interacting and stuff. So it was kind of cool to see that. But I thanked him for all the laughs he gave me as a child watching Fawlty Towers on PBS. And he said thank you genuinely. Like, I think I surprised him that I was there for Fawlty Towers and not Monty Python or A Fish Called Wanda or, Q for Bond. And then I splurged a little bit and I got table selfies with Rachel Lee Cook. She is super tiny. And then I got a table selfie with Hordor.
Who is not
funny
tiny.
enough, who is not tiny,
No.
and I wish I had somebody taking a photo of the look on my daughter's face when her dad stands next to somebody who's even bigger than her dad. So it was pretty funny to watch her reaction. But yeah, overall, I think it was a solid con. Good for families. Like, they, despite them being tired of walking and waiting, they wanted to buy everything that they saw that they liked, which, as a parent, you have to say no to. But yeah, we went down in the son and his friend played in that game area where Toby went to go, drunk Mario Kart.
Which I won, by the way. I did win my drunk Mario Kart.
Nice. But yeah, like I did have a good time. They had like a kids area that we went in and sat down for a little bit in the evening before we left because my kids were tired of walking. Freezing cold. Like, if you were warm on the con floor, if you just go to the kids area, holy crap, it was so cold in there. My kids told me to get a tattoo because they had the tattoo things, and I'm like, no, I'm good. But they said, well, what would you get? And I'm like, well, what do you think I get? And they said, well, the Helldivers logo or something from Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, overall, I thought it was fun. It was interesting. The kids had a good time, and yeah. But there was a lot of celebrities there. A lot. You could easily, like, Weird Al was there too.
There is a guy that walked around the show floor that looked just like Weird Al. He was just walking randomly, randomly walking around, and I kept thinking it was him, but it wasn't him. Like, because I started seeing him at panels sitting down. I'm like, Weird Al panel. But at first I was like, it's totally him. It's totally him, right? And then I was like, wait, no, he's everywhere. No, it's not him.
But no, I think they did an okay job overall with the con. I think the only thing I wish they would have done was taken the comic book people and some of the artists and put them on the far wall and had all the vendors in the middle, so you kind of would move the whole thing, because it felt like the comic creators were kind of shoved in between behind the WWE people exhibit and all the vendors. So, but yeah, overall I think it was solid. I had a good time. So,
Cool.
and they're apparently there for 2 more years because I think they signed a 3-year agreement.
Yeah, I think they'll be there for a couple of years.
Because that's what one of the people at the information booths had said. So, because my son asked if he could do his volunteer work for school with them, and I said probably. I don't know.
Isn't it always during the summer though? Isn't it during summer out? Yeah.
Yeah. I think
No, they can do their volunteer hours whenever. It's just they have to do a certain amount of volunteer hours to graduate. So, but I think the lady's like, well, he probably needs to be in high school because age-wise they can't do like children. So, but yeah, no, they had a good time.
Be there before you know it, Brock.
Yeah, it's true. I know. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the xenomorph that was wandering around on Saturday.
Yes.
That xenomorph scared the shit out of my daughter. And not because of the costume, but because they had one of those birthday silver blowers in their mouth. And right when they walked next to my daughter, they shot it out.
Oh, no.
It scared the crap out of my daughter. And I was like, I started laughing, and she's like, that's not funny, Dad. I'm like, I wish I had a video of that. That would have been amazing. But yeah. Overall, it was a good con. It was fun. And we'll see what they have for a lineup for next year, but it was a solid lineup of people.
Yeah.
And I saw Lane.
Yeah.
So he did go on Saturday.
I think this is the first con that both me and Lane been at, and I never seen him.
Because he showed up late.
I seen him.
Yeah. Well, Lane?
I guess me. Well, I went on Friday and Saturday. I was there when I was there a little before it started. It did open a little late, so that was a little weird, but I mean, that's fine. A little weird that they started a line and then they just kind of said, oh, well, everybody just form a huge group and then we're just all going to rush the door. But, and then if the only other thing I would say is like, it took a little while where like the first half an hour, half the people weren't at their tables. So it was a little bit of waiting around in the very, very beginning. But at the same time, some of the people that were there were really nice, really easy to get to. Like, I went in just trying to get mostly autographs, and like, I was only going for like 4 or 5 people, and like I was done with 3 of them in the first hour. So I was just basically waiting around for the last 2 for the next 2 days.
Well, that makes sense why I never saw you, because if you're done like right away and I come late. Yeah.
Well, no, that was actually for a different reason.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I didn't really stick too late on Friday. I think I left after like 3 hours, 4 hours, and then Saturday I just came back, finished what I needed to do, get the rest of the autographs, and then I started hitting up all the tables, just to check out every single vendor, who was there, what was available. Walk through the celebrity area just to see how the lines were being done and all that. And it was really, really well done. And I got an autograph from John Cleese, just like Brock did, but I didn't do the photo. If anything, I had to leave early though.
Yeah, I didn't get an autograph, just a photo.
Oh, okay. I did.
So you went to the table.
I went straight to the table and got his autograph and got to shake his hand.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
But I had to leave early. I had to leave at like 2:30 on Saturday because I had to go to a memorial service that afternoon. And because of that, I didn't know how long it was going to be, so I didn't plan to come back. But I might have been able to had I known more about the after the late night stuff. I didn't really look into it too much, so I just kind of skipped it. So a little regret there. No, that's all on me. It's not the con's fault. It's my fault.
Yeah, that'll be next year.
Yeah, next year I'll definitely do that. Go back and check it out. Like you've definitely hyped it up enough for me to definitely check it out. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I didn't really do a whole lot. Just got some autographs and got to see people I wanted to see. Like I saw Joelle. She was really, really nice. Talked to her for a bit. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
She's actually surprised that a lot of men actually like the dress. That it was weird because the guy that was working her booth and Higgins, because they were next to each other.
Al Higgins.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, this print is your most popular print." She's like, "Really?" So it's just funny.
Oh, she was just surprised because she made it over a weekend.
Yeah,
because she wasn't originally supposed to be the designer, and then they just asked her, "Oh, can you design it?" And she said, "Oh, how long do I have? Like 3 days?"
Of course.
And yeah, she didn't mean to. I talked to her a long time ago, and she was saying like she didn't mean to make it so like all the frills and the corset, because she was like, she felt bad because she's like, yeah, oh wait, now that I added it, I didn't think that artists are gonna have to reproduce this like constantly on pages.
So she screwed everybody for commissions for like so long.
Well, yeah, because she wasn't thinking
That's
about
awesome.
that, so that's kind of funny.
Kev?
Yeah, so I was only there Sunday once Lane tagged out. Toby, I saw you for what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes, yeah.
On Sunday?
Yeah, well, so here's a problem, right? So I only have one car at the moment, so my mom at home goes like, if you're going to take the car the entire weekend, you got to go do the errands. So literally when I saw you, I'm like, I have 2 hours. I'm going to leave the con, go to Costco, buy all the shit for home, and then come back.
Yes, that's right. So yes, your Costco run in the middle of the con.
Yeah.
That's when I saw you.
Not something I ever thought I have to do during a con.
Right.
So here we are.
On a Sunday? You psycho.
Sunday afternoon,
psycho
Brock.
man.
Sunday afternoon.
Oh, fuck off. No, you couldn't. There's not enough money in the goddamn motherfucking world that I would go to a Costco on a Sunday.
I bet there is enough money.
There's a.
No,
I'm gonna bet there is enough money.
Okay, that's a lot. A lot.
Anyway, this was a total. My attitude going to this con was just a total zen. Like, whatever this con turns out to be is fine with me, because I wouldn't say I'm conned out for this year, but damn, I'm almost at Higgins level.
You've been to a lot.
I'm almost at Higgins
You've been
level.
to a lot.
And this includes flying cross country twice.
Well, you have one more con coming.
Well, that's all TBD. But anyway, so my thing was kind of like with Lane. I was just getting signatures. I got a few more people in that DC book. I kind of walked the vendors. I think I bought a comic, as in a single comic, when I was there. Walked the celebrity area. There wasn't anybody it was cool to just see everybody, but there wasn't any that jumped out where I said, I have to get that person. And I think that I'll say, I know that the highlight of the show was the commission that I got that these guys already know about. Toby, should I just leave the artist anonymous? Because I don't want to give the impression this is somebody who does this as a regular thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'll just leave the artist anonymous. One of the big name guests at that show, who I know, like I didn't just walk up as a stranger. So with that caveat, I asked if this person was drawing because they weren't doing anything when I walked up to the table. They said, sure, basically. And told me to come back. A little later, I came back, I don't know, hour and a half later, found them again, handed me what I would call is a very beautiful piece of art. And when I said, who should I pay? Or where do I pay? Something like that, waved it off and said, this one's on me. And so that was kind of like the moment of just like, maybe I should just leave right now, because it's all downhill from here. Like, there's not going to be anything better than that happens at this show.
Hey, thanks, because right after that you saw me, so thanks a lot.
Yeah, that was it. That's what convinced me. Yeah, and so, but I stayed I think that thing shut down at 6:00 on Sunday. I stayed till maybe 4:35. Toby and I were possibly going to go out with another guest of the show after, but that person, Toby, as I found out, ended up having a little medical issue.
Oh no!
And so it wasn't that they flaked. It was that they were not thinking about us at the time. No, it was nothing. It was nothing serious. It's just more the annoying kind of thing.
Oh, all right.
So it's all good now. So, good. But yeah, so that was kind of the wrap up for me. It was very low key, very easy. I don't think I waited in line for anything. But again, that's because I wasn't trying to do a lot of the super popular things. Toby, I almost joined you for the Star Trek V screening. But
that was fun.
Yeah.
That was genuinely fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's about it. Like I said, my highlight was the art, but overall it was a very kind of, for something that's super celebrity heavy, I found it pretty like laid back and low key. But again, that was on Sunday, so I can't speak to the other day's experience.
Saturday was packed, but it wasn't completely elbows to assholes.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So
Kevin, you also picked up the art for me. Thanks.
Oh yes, and
well, that's why you had to stay till 4:30, right?
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. I was as I'm recounting it, I'm like, why was I there so late? I was basically done at 1:00. Yes.
Yeah, you were waiting on Lane's piece to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thumbs up for me. I would definitely go back. Easy in and out for us in this area, and yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it was I really enjoyed the con. It was a really good start. A lot of good new things in there. A really good selection of celebrities and comic guests, and a lot of people we don't really see this side. So I truly enjoyed it. It was really an excellent start. Looking forward to next year. And obviously, I hope you two are back next year, because now that we know each other, it's going to be even more fun next year. So watch out.
Well, no, they can come back. They'll have somebody to work the booth.
Yeah, exactly right.
Got him.
Well, it's funny. Like I said, if I had known all you guys were there, we could have introduced you to a few people. But did anybody make it to aisle 600?
I did, because I think I met Kevin over there, because I think Kevin was texting me.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that's where I was.
So you guys were like, you were still
like right there.
us.
No, you were right there.
Yes, we were like, yes, because
this
was a double booth. So,
yeah, this is. But
you probably saw me walk.
This is no offense, though, you guys. It's just like those booths where you don't know who the creator is, just kind of all blur together in a big swirl of colors. So
no, I
couldn't tell you who I saw or didn't see, who's not a name who I already knew.
No, that's fair.
We're friendly with Humberto Ramos as a art rep. Joe, he's a good friend. So you guys were behind.
Yeah, he's right there. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and it's funny because me and Joe talk for quite a bit usually. Every con I see him, we say hello and we catch up, and I say hello to Humberto, and so I was literally right around there. So I'm very, very sorry I didn't see you guys.
No, my head was probably down doing commissions anyway, so it's like it was just one of those things.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw your booth, and I saw one of you was drawing, so I just didn't want to bother.
Oh, okay. Fair. I appreciate it. It's just funny because I was like, wait, I knew like at least a few of you must have passed. It's just you didn't know who we were, and so.
Well, I must have been silent because usually people recognize me by my voice, which is really scary. I remember it was one time I was at Comic-Con and this girl turned around and go, "Toby?" I'm like, yes. And she was like a high school friend's cousin. And it was like 10 years later, and I was like, that's a little scary.
Did she ask you to say Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Damn it.
No.
Oh, man.
She doesn't know about that. Nobody will.
Ryan, these guys are going to hate you tomorrow, Ryan, tomorrow morning. You better hit Cape and Cowl.
I know.
Yeah.
Toby, give us 30 seconds on Cape and Cowl. No, our friends deserve a few more minutes than that. Give us a couple minutes on Cape and Cowl.
Aiton, who owns Cape and Cowl in Oakland, he did this little get-together, little mini-con, as you will, at a brewery up in... It was in Berkeley, though, right? It wasn't in Oakland. It was in Berkeley, right? Yeah. But the story...
This is their second year. They did it last year.
Yeah, they did it last year. It was super cool because I was really, really looking forward to it because there's a couple of creators there I really want to chat with. But as we walked in, the first guy we run into is Terry Dotson, who we were friendly with, and he was there with Rachel. And he was funny. He was like, yeah, man, I didn't know about this last year. When I heard about it, because he's friends with Aiton, he was like, I said yes right away. He was like, a year ahead, he agreed to do this con, basically, just to be there. So I thought that was kind of cool. I really wanted to meet Derek Kirkham, who's actually a local creator, who for some reason... I just never crossed paths. Elaine says he's been tons of local cons, and for some reason I just always missed him. I didn't know that he was at Fan Expo last year, and it was one of those things. I'm like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm totally gonna hit him up and talk to him. And then tomorrow I came and went, and then I went home. I'm like, wait, I totally forgot to see him. So, he did a web series called Mythomania on YouTube that I really liked, and I really liked his books too. So it was cool to meet him and get him to sign the books, the book I had. The other one was Tien Pham that did the family style book that won the Eisner when we were down in Comic-Con, when Gene was behind us and all of his people were, and they were applauding when he won the Eisner for family style. So I got the hardcover from Ryan and got him to sign it, and then he drew a little boat in it, and all of a sudden he starts looking at me, and I was like, where is this going? And then he started drawing me into the book, which is really cool, because at first he was like, who do I make it out to? I'm like, Toby. And then he starts looking at me, he starts drawing, and then he pauses in fear, and he goes, you are Toby, right? I'm like, yeah, keep going. So it was kind of funny because you want to make sure he's doing the right thing, because whatever was it. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I that was really cool of him. So I really enjoyed that. And then there was a couple of local vendors there. I was actually hoping Cape and Cowl will bring their other shirts. They had the con shirts there for the event. But I saw online that they have a bunch of different shirts, comic book related, that they have at the store, and I was really hoping they'd bring some of them out. Because
they might have them on the Comic Hub if you want to order them online.
Fuck the hub. I hate the hub. I'd much rather drive to Oakland, go into the store, say hello to him, buy a shirt than buy from freaking Comic Hub.
Well, parking sucks at their store, and he will admit that.
I'm heading up for a concert on Wednesday, so I may have to do a Pull of Wednesday comic book shop visit there. So,
nice.
Yeah, he has one. He has a Wu-Tang shirt with what's it called? Cream, but it's comics rules everything around me. So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, I kind of like that shirt, so I hope he still has that one. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was cool. It was really small. It's kind of one of those things, like, it's a local con that you go and you hang out for a couple hours and you kind of call it a day. I actually thought we missed Kevin originally, and I texted him and he goes, "No, I'm in the bathroom line." So we had a beer, we got to hang out for a bit, and then and we went our merry way. But I really enjoyed it. It's like the perfect mini con, like after Comic-Con, after Galaxy, something really small and local was just the right thing to do. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So the con was inside of a brewery, was basically artist alley, and then out in the back of the brewery, outdoors, is all the vendors. So
you had a couple artists out there too, though.
Oh, so you could basically choose which area. I found it to be inside the brewery. Toby, I don't know what, Lane, your reaction was. The decibel level in there was a little intense for me. It felt...
It was insanely loud. When Terry was talking to us, I could barely hear him.
You could not... you could stand across an artist's table from them and literally not hear each other, what you're saying.
Yeah, the sound was very bouncing around. I literally I had to lean in quite a bit to Terry to hear what he was saying. And even then, I only got like every other thing, right? He was like, he's going to do some vacation in Santa Cruz. And I was like, and then I would miss a couple of words, and then, it was kind of funny. Yeah.
So my time inside the artist alley was super limited. I looked at all the vendors outside, and then I just enjoyed the shade and the beer. But it was cool to see. It was a super cool idea, and the setup was really nicely done. Everybody was displayed. Nobody kind of got lost in the back corner of a huge convention hall. Aesthetically, it was great. It just for me personally, it was a little intense.
I mean, it was loud right at that front area over there where Eric and that row was sitting. Actually, it was a little more audible at that place because it was right by the big door that goes outside onto the back. But yeah, it was a cool local thing. Like I kind of wish there's more of them. Like, look, I don't need it every weekend. Like, I really don't. But
So what you're saying is Ryan needs to plan one.
Hey, I've been wanting Ryan to do mini cons since he moved to the
boy.
Ryan needs to do a mini con.
Yeah, Ryan.
The only thing I want to do less than set up at a con is run a con.
Hold it inside the warehouse. Just clear
Yeah.
all the.
Oh man,
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Behind the
We'll
school.
sign
Light
up.
a match, and let it
Yeah,
burn.
see, Brock, suddenly you're not so appealing, huh?
No, I'll practice controlled burning just to clear the things.
Yeah.
Got to look at the positive. Maybe I'll be a firefighter.
Nah, well, hey, look. Anyways, I think it's a cool thing. I think it's very cool. I think. I hope. I'm sure he's going to keep doing them, and I wouldn't mind a couple more of those, like kind of small local cons that are just like cozy.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a fun alternative to the big cons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think that is enough con talk. And it's late for us, so I don't want to know how late it is for you guys.
Add 3 hours
It's worth
to
it,
11.
though. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it.
When you wake up tomorrow, see if you still feel that way.
Yeah, good point.
Before we
That's only if
go,
they have to wake up early.
before we go, Mervyn, let us know. Tell us about your comic, where people can buy it, social medias, contacts, upcoming con schedule, anything you want to say. Promote the
This
heck
is
out of yourselves.
Pimping time is
Wow,
what we
pimping
should
time.
call it.
All right, so pimping time. I'd give you guys a copy of Giant Robot Warrior Maintenance Crew, which is available at CosmicTimes.com, or you can get it at PaperLabStudios.com, or you can look out for my upcoming Kickstarter for the first book I ever did called Speeders Inc. It's coming soon, sometime in the future, right? And we also have a good old Patreon that you can check out our new projects and whatnot on. It's just Paper Lab Studios, PaperLabStudios. I hate spelling on this. STUDIOS. Anyway, yeah, Paper Lab Studios. Patreon.com/PaperLabStudios or PaperLabStudios.com or PaperLab Studios on Instagram. And Nikki, anything you want to share?
I think our next show is going to be Animate
Des Moines.
Des Moines / Nightmare Des Moines.
Yeah, that's
followed
it's such a complicated
by New
name.
York Comic Con.
Yeah, New York Comic Con.
cool.
You guys know that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah,
And Paper Lab Studios is the booth.
yeah, that's what we work on there. Yeah,
Yep.
Nicole and I. Yeah,
Nice.
that's us.
It's fantastic. Yeah, if anyone going to New York Comic Con or what was the other one? Animate?
Yeah,
I mean, I know
Animate.
Animate's a
Animate. Animate.
Yeah, they've
it's like a combination.
that's like a weird name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
GalaxyCon people as well. They do
okay.
horror shows and they do animation shows. It's not really an anime show. It's
It's weird. It's like this is an extension of the Heroes and Villains and the Walker Stalker and all
Yeah.
the stuff we used to have here, and like it's like a very similar idea. Just
yeah.
Hopefully
It's
these
like
guys
Peered Down.
stick around. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Cool.
I saw that on the celebrity things. A couple of the celebrities had like their horror logo on them, and then the other ones had like another logo
Yeah.
on the bottom. So I was like, oh, okay. Seems like GalaxyCon brings everything together, and then they do these little things.
Well, I think Galaxy's
that are
like
more-
sci-fi and like kind of sci-fi focused and comic focused. So that's what it. Yeah.
or it's just everything in the galaxy.
Maybe.
It's kind of
Well, it's
funny.
great. Yeah. No. Good luck at the cons and yeah. Let us know on the Kickstarter. We'll let people know when that goes live. Give us a heads up when that goes out, and we'll definitely tell people about it here. We also have to thank our Patreon backers: Edward at geekyvillain.com, Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at the Executive Evolution Podcast, and Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, and all of our other Patreon backers. Patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. You can go over to comicsconspiracy.biz, which is where we have all our stuff to buy. And meanwhile, anthology.com, that's where you can find links to purchase the anthology that everyone else on this podcast did for our 30th anniversary last year. And Brock's stuff is over at conspiratorbrock.com. Our friend Charlie has a Doctor Who podcast, Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. You can check that out. Kevin has an interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com, and a page I love, which is at Comic Art Live on YouTube. No direct link to that. Just look up the page I love on their channel there. And my wife Leanne, she's at leannehill.com, and her art's at etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. And we are on Blue Sky. Ryan Higgins is me. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby's Toby XI. Kevin's at Kevin Sharp. Stores ComicsCon store on Twitter. And I think it's just Comics Conspiracy on Instagram. I don't really use. It's like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I just kind of post the same shit there. But you can get a hold of me on there if you want. And Geekbox, yeah, do still do Geekbox. You listen to so Geekbox. Had another Geekbox listener stop by the store this past week. So
Mervyn actually drew.
He
shared it with me. He drew Ryan Scott in a very peculiar way.
No, you're making me sound like a creep. Wait. This was upon request of the Comedy Button guys. They had asked for this.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Okay. So you're real deep in. Okay. What was it? What would you draw? I'll see if I'll ask him if he remembers. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to him. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Excellent. That's great. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for being on. Fantastic. Glad you guys had a good time out here, and hopefully had a good time here on the Comic Conspiracy podcast too. And we'll let you get some sleep. And for everyone listening, thank you very much. We'll be back in a week or two with a new episode. See you soon.